But I think one of the reasons why we have such a problem with the topic of marriage right now is because we're still trying to figure out how to do marriage in the 21st century with a 20th century mentality about monogamy and marriage that used to work in generations past. But now that we're in the 21st century, now we're looking at like polygamy, now we're looking at thruples, now we're looking at polyamory, now we might still be trying to make even monogamous, traditional marriage work in a 21st century egalitarian way of doing things, as I was saying before, based on sort of Marxist principles, right? How do we make it work? And I think the problem is you said you read my fourth book on religion, right?
I've read 4 of your books.
In the introduction for that, I think when people want to know what killed marriage, it's technology that killed marriage. It's not feminism. Feminism was just like part of the fallout of it. Technology is what killed it. The technology is hormonal birth control. It might have been social media. It might have. If you read the book, you understand. I make these metaphors. I probably shouldn't do this, but I made these. You never use metaphors online. You can use them in your book. Don't use them online, because everybody takes them literally. I likened it to the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden. Like the apple that Eve eats is actually from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? It's the tree of knowledge, right? And I made the comparison to like every so often in human history, another apple falls off that tree. We get a new invention like atomic weapons. That was an apple that falls off the tree. Human flight, like the Wright brothers learned how to fly in the air. Okay, well, that's a game changer, right? Now suddenly we did go to the moon. Okay, so we go to the moon, okay? And that's another apple that falls from the tree. Hormonal birth control is another one that fell from the tree. The impact of the internet and access, easy, quick, instantaneous access to information that we never had access to before is another one. And we have to figure out how to process and how to do these things. It's just that there's too many apples falling off the tree all the time, and we don't know how to incorporate those into a functional society right now. So if you read the introduction to my fourth book, which is called Religion, thank you very much. It took me 3 years to write. I liken the internet to the Gutenberg press. And the Gutenberg press in like the mid 1400s or maybe late 1400s was movable type. And what's the first thing they do? They print the Bible. And now the layperson can read the Bible, and it increased literacy rates in Western Europe like skyrocket. Now we can have other books. Now we have the Bible. Now I have this. And you want to know why there was the Protestant Reformation? It's one invention. One apple that fell off the tree. That was a Gutenberg press. Yeah. And so you have wars as a result of that between Catholics and Protestants. So sometimes those apples are not necessarily great things. But what it did was it increased human knowledge exponentially. And that's exactly what the internet has done now. What we're doing right here in this podcast studio is we have the internet, we go through the forum years, we go through social media years, we go through the video or the blog years, and then we go through the video years right now. And so everything sort of exponentially like sort of builds up over time. But really what is it building up? It's building up access to information, easy access to information that we never had access to before. And I think that we're living in a time right now in the 21st century where we're still 20th century creatures trying to make 20th century ideals work in the 21st century. So I first started to notice this when it was Donald Trump was running against Hillary Clinton. They're both 20th century brands trying to run 20th century campaigns in the 21st century. And so now when I see like political action committees like Progressive Victory, like buying influencers to essentially be sock puppets and mouthpieces for the DNC, that's a technology and a use of a technology that we've never had in the past. And how are we going to deal with that? Are we going to make it illegal? Are we going to find some way to is it going to go against terms of service for Twitch or YouTube or something like that? We're still trying to figure those things out. And it's exactly what we're trying to do with marriage right now is we have access to divorce rates, like all the way back to like when they started keeping them, our marriage rates. Marriage is at the lowest rate it's ever been, 6.1 per 1,000 people. People say, oh, well, isn't it great that the divorce rate's lowered? Or like, yeah, but the marriage rate is at 6.1 per 1,000, right? And so everybody wants to try to sort of have some wiggle room in there and try to say, well, it's not as bad as it seems. Well, that it's not as bad as it seems is the want for that 20th century ideal to be dragged into the 21st century. And so we'll try to find ways and caveats and everything else to sort of like do an end around these statistics that are pretty damning. And it's my opinion that it would be better for people to just simply read those things, take them for what they are, and then use them in the 21st century in a 21st century way. So, like, for instance, I'm going to quote Aaron Clary once again. He popularized this concept is that we live in a post-marriage society right now. And I don't necessarily think we live in a post-marriage society, but I do think that we are trying to redefine and trying to figure out how to do marriage in the 21st century.
Yeah, well, they've literally redefined it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
On the most basic level. Like, again, people get uncomfortable and squirrely around this. And regardless of someone's political or social position on this, by going from marriage being an institution between a man and a woman to suddenly saying, oh, no, actually,
it could be anybody. Yeah.
A man can marry a man, a woman can marry a woman. You have fundamentally changed thousands of years of how this thing has operated.
Do you remember the conversation that was happening? Like, how does that affect you? That these people, love is love, right? Always. Love is love is an article of faith, by the way, that of a secular religion. But I remember the conversation at the time was like, well, how does this affect you? You know, it's not, you're heterosexual. You can get married.
Don't marry a man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was the whole thing. Well, now we know why. Because it fundamentally changed the definition. So, for instance, you're going to laugh at this example. Aaron Clary and myself could get married if we wanted to, right? Because we're both men, and we're allowed to. Remember, it's not homosexual marriage; it's same-sex marriage.
Yes.
So the stipulations of my new marriage with Aaron Clary is that we're both heterosexual and we can go and party with all the chicks we want, bring them home and have random sex whenever we want. Well, that's the stipulation of our marriage.
The thing that would block it, though, is something that is more rooted in tradition, which is bigamy.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You might have a problem with that.
So it would be like, nope, bigamy.
Okay, so we're not going to get married in Utah, but we will get married in Nevada. Yeah. How's that? Okay. But the thing is I think people, it's a funny illustration to point out that it's not homosexual marriage. It's same-sex marriage. So really what it is the marriage as a concept is really up to the two individuals who are in it. So when I'm doing Access Vegas, and I have these girls on who are in open relationships or semi-open relationships. There's different ways to do it. There's like the guy who has it's closed on her end and it's open on his end, right? That's one form. Then it's open on both our ends and we're in an open relationship and let your freak flag fly. And then it's open on her end and closed on your end, even though you don't know it's really close. And then there's what I have with my wife, closed on her end, closed on my end. That's traditional, okay? We're trying to figure out how best to
you dinosaur, you? How dare you?
How dare you? How dare you? You want to know why I'll never go on? Not that I wouldn't if they asked me, but like, here's why I will never be able to go on Daily Wire is because like, they want to get me on like he's anti-marriage. No, dude, I'm married longer than you have. It's because I'm married. Like I fit every single ideal of like the trad cons on that side of the even the most extreme. I fit every single ideal, but I'm also the godfather of red pill. So, but I think really what it comes down to is we're trying to figure out how to do a 20th century marriage ideal in the 21st century. And why are we doing that? Because we have access to so much information and access to so much like social media, for example. You got all these women who are on OnlyFans, or you got these women who are on Instagram, and they're still advertising their sexuality and they're technically advertising their sexual availability. Whether that's true or not, they're not showing pictures of their boyfriends. They're only showing pictures of them, right? In a bikini somewhere on some beach, right? And that's really still advertising. So, like for instance,
what's crazier is out in the wild when you see the boyfriend taking all the photos. When
you're at the beach. He's the one. Yeah, he's the Instagram boyfriend. Yeah, he's the one actually like enabling all of this. But the reason why I say this is because like that's the women advertising their sexuality. If women were doing that like overtly and they were saying, "Oh no, I'm with you," or "We're closed on my end, closed on yours," well, you're advertising your sexuality. We would call that cheating, right? If I went and started picking up on the waitress at the bar and grill or something, and I actively went out and tried to do that, you would say that was cheating. Okay. Well, for men have to go out and actually be the pitchman. They have to be the salesman. I got to sell you on my quality and sell you on who I am because that's how I'm going to convince you to sleep with me, right? Women are the advertisers. All they have to do is show their pictures on OnlyFans or Instagram, or well, let's just say you're not even doing it professionally. It's just on Instagram, right? Why am I not on your Instagram? Why is there no picture of me on your Facebook? Why is there no on your social media? Well, because as soon as a woman posts a picture of her boyfriend or her husband on that social media, she loses market capital. That's why. So So that's why we say, when women say, I would never delete my Instagram for any guy. No, the right guy would never ask me to do that. And I go, well, you are still kind of advertising your availability, even though you claim to be you're exclusive with this guy, right? So are you or are you not? And that's one of the things we're trying to figure out in the 21st century, because women don't want to give that up. They don't want to give up the attention. They don't want to give up the positive strokes that they get from putting sexy pictures online. So how does that fit into 21st century marriage? Also, what about a woman who wants to bring other women into the bedroom for her husband? They're still married. Adam 22, for example.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with Lena the Plug and that whole situation. I know this is a family show, so I'll try not to get into that too much. But I will say this, factually correct. Adam 22 and Lena are married. Mm-hmm. I've seen the wedding pictures. I know they are married. Are they married? By traditional sense?
Legally, yeah.
Legally, they are married. Yeah. They're the ones who are defining that. So as I was saying before, if Aaron Clary and I wanted to get married and we're both heterosexual, right? That's just how we're defining marriage in the 21st century. He can go have sex with any of the girls he wants to, and I can too. That's just the stipulations of our marriage. The thing is in the 21st century, we're still trying to figure out how to do that with social media, with Instagram, with streaming 4K pornography, with you can get into the marriage thing, all the issues that revolve around intersexual dynamic, the red pill, and marriage. You can include pornography. You can include sedations, which I would include as say drugs and weed and all this other stuff. You can include open marriages. You can include women not wanting to give up their Instagram social after they get married, right? Or even showing a picture of the guy that they're with, right? Because they're reluctant to. That's their sort of fail-safe, right? Okay, well that's affecting marriage in the 21st century. We never had to deal with that when I got married in 1996. Yeah. So yeah, it was different back then, but it's also the definition of marriage and the definition of what you were getting yourself into was much more clear than it is today.